I want to welcome you and your student to my regular world history class here at Cape and Mount Carmel. My name is Ben Riley, and I am so excited to have your student this year. I was really dreading coming back to school this year with the last year and a half of COVID chaos. I was not looking forward to being in the classroom this year for some reason. And then in our first day or two of this class, I really kind of found myself enjoying what I was doing, and I really hope that continues the rest of the semester and year. But I'm really excited now, and that's what it took. It took the kids coming back to school to kind of make me excited again. So I think that's a really good thing. This year in our world history class, we are going to cover a time period roughly from the Renaissance, and hopefully we'll get to the modern era around World War One. Sometimes we don't quite make it. That's usually my goal, but I think technically we don't really have to get there. But I like to go from the Renaissance roughly. We go through some major time periods that have really had an effect on our world and particularly our country. So we'll look at the Renaissance. We'll look at the Reformations, the science revolutions, the Enlightenment, Industrial Revolution, the Age of Exploration, imperialism, nationalism, all kinds of things that have kind of shaped our world for good or for ill, really. But that's kind of where we stand on what we're studying this year. I know the class title is World History, and we do look at world history. However, there is a large emphasis, perhaps, on world history that has greatly influenced where we live today in the United States. So I know that's been a question for some students in the past, but yeah, a lot of the history is sort of pointing towards where we are today. As far as materials go, all students will need to bring something to write with. They will need to bring a 3-ring binder. I like the binders because they will often get handouts from me, which are hole punched, and they can just stick them in their binder. Students that I have let use spirals in the past sometimes will just shove those papers in their spiral and forget about them, or fold them up and put them in their book. However, in a month or 2 months, when I ask them to break out those charts, those different graphic organizers, or whatever it is I've handed out, it can be difficult for them to find them. But other students with the 3-ring binder can flip to it rather quickly, especially if they have a little tab or something. So yes, please have them bring something to write with, a 3-ring binder. Having some paper in that binder is a good idea because we will do notes. I recommend also that students have headphones, just in case. I can't say that we'll use them all the time, but for some reason, if I should have to go remote out of the classroom and they are still here, they can do a lot of our class work on their Chromebooks with headphones at their own pace. Or if we're doing projects and they're making something for me in terms of video or some sort of audio, they can use those headphones in that regard. I also ask the students bring a Kleenex box if they haven't already. We go through a lot of Kleenexes. I told the students that most of you will use Kleenexes at some point in this classroom and every other classroom. So please help contribute to our stash. We go through enough Kleenexes in a year that sometimes I don't have enough at the end of the year. Today, I've got some. I've got quite a bit already. So I'm kind of running out of places to keep them. But if your student has not brought them, we'll find some place, and that'll help us out for the rest of the year. I highly encourage you to require that your students read on a regular basis. I think one of the biggest signs that a student will succeed is if they are engaging that text and doing it on a regular basis. What I mean by that is I see a lot of students, they come in and they will not read, and it's really easy to figure out how they're going to do with the information. They will not be able to participate, they won't be able to question, criticize, discuss, and they certainly won't be able to do well on tests or quizzes. However, If they are in the habit of engaging the text before class discussions, usually they can ask questions or make comments, and it can help lead the class discussion and make it more interesting. And of course, the more interesting it is, the more likely they are to retain concepts and ideas, if not things like names and dates, which maybe aren't quite as important. Many students will tell me sometimes that they read, but they will not have been able to really retain information, or they've not been able to bring what they've read into class discussion, or maybe it's an essay or something like that. But what I would say to that is that many students will try to read the text in order to get it over with. And of course, if they're reading just to put their eyeballs over the text to say they did it, I don't believe that will be very effective. So I do encourage students in the classroom here to read and reread if needed, to read slowly and ask themselves questions as they're going through it. What is the meaning of this? What consequences does this have? Things like that will really help them engage the text. But reading to put your eyeballs over it, it's almost as if, why bother reading at all? It would just be a waste of time if there's no engagement with what the text is saying. So again, I encourage students to read and read carefully. And sometimes in order to do that, they must be disciplined with their time management. And when we're not disciplined with time management, it forces us to rush. It forces us to do things that make it difficult in class here. In closing here, I would just ask that you communicate with me if you ever have any questions, concerns, or comments. I can't guarantee a response immediately, but I will do my best to try to get back with you at least within 24 hours. If I can't give you a full response, I'll at least get back with you to let you know that I've received your email or phone call or whatever it is, and that I will try to figure out and think about or respond in an appropriate way as soon as I can. Contact information here, briley@capon.org is my email for school, and I really think that's the best way to get a hold of me. On most days, that's hooked up and synced with my phone, so no matter where I am, probably will have access to that email and see that right away. And again, if not responding right away, at least I can be thinking about whatever issue you might have for me. Also, Google Classroom, you should be able to add yourself if you have a Gmail account to your students' Google Classroom. You can kind of see what they are seeing, and you should be able to get parent summaries on whatever has been posted for the week. My office hours for students, typically I am here well before they are, so I would say no earlier than 7. I'm usually here earlier, but that's because I like to do a lot of my work in the mornings. I'm a morning person. I'm not an afternoon person. My brain works a lot better in the morning, so I do get here early. But they can probably get here on most days as early as 7, and I'll be in room 112. I will stay till 3:30, and if a student needs me beyond 3:30, I'm willing or open at least to stay. I think that students have not done a good job in the past of making appointments. Sometimes they'll see those office hours and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I'll come at 7," and that might just be the day that I have to take my daughter to school, which is not often, but it happens occasionally, and then I'm not here till 7:30. So if they make an appointment, if they shoot me a message, I'm able to kind of confirm that I will be there or not be there. And again, if I don't see them by 3:30, usually I go home. So those are my office hours. I can't really think of anything else here for contact, but I want to thank you. I want to let you know that I'm really excited to have your students in class, and I hope we have a really great year, and I really hope and pray that we can avoid any more disruptions to our learning environment here at Capon Mount Carmel with the old COVID. God bless, and have a good evening.